Hey, all you crazy kids and people out there, we're ready to do another game hump. It's game hump. It's the middle of the week. It's the middle of the week. It's a game hump. You know what that means? We're the game huggers. We got a full house today. We got Ben has returned once again to the show. Say hi, Ben.
What is up, everybody? How you doing, my people?
Now he is energetic. I wish I had that energy. And hey, look at next to me here, a long-time listener, first-time caller. Corey is on the show, and he's actually live in person in my game room. Say hi, Corey.
Hello.
He says hello. Dan, are you still on mute? You muted yourself.
Hello, coisas dias, Ayrton.
Whoa, and that was something different. Hey, so this week we've got a special, exciting topic to talk about. Hopefully there'll be no arguments, but I can't make any guarantees. We're talking about 16-bit mascots. Our favorites, our least favorites, games we played, games we liked. Let's jump right into it. Which system should we start with, and what should be a good mascot to jump into? Dan.
I would say Sega Genesis, because it was sort of like that machine next to the SNES. I guess SNES would kind of be there too, but I'd say it was more of that machine that had a shitload of mascots on that fucking system. Like you were mentioning a character like Awesome Possum or whatever else, like Cool Spot, and list goes on. It was just like I would just look at that machine, and all I would fucking see across every shelf at like Funkoland or whatever else is shit like this.
What is that? Oh, High Seas Havoc. You know,
Yeah.
I've never played that. What is that game like?
It's Sonic the Hedgehog, effectively. It literally is Sonic the Hedgehog, but with a sword and all that, and it's, it plays true to its name. It has a character that, is a freaking pirate or, I don't know, a swashbuckler. I don't know what the hell you would call him, but, yeah, it's pretty much Sonic the Hedgehog. I mean, most games of yesteryear used to always follow suit with Sonic. I mean, it's Sonic. You had, trying to think of other games that kind of look like Sonic. Can't think of any right now.
Games that were like Sonic. There was a few. I think one that was almost the most obvious of a sorry, I'm fighting off a cough here. Obvious of a ripoff of it was Bubsy, Claws of a Furred Kind.
Oh, Bubsy.
Bubsy's interesting. It has a lot of the same gameplay elements where it's got, like, if you're running and you hold over, the longer you hold over, the faster he goes, and it's kind of got that sort of blast processing-ness to it, where it's a pretty quick game. But it was also released on the Super Nintendo and played almost identical, so it was cool to get a Sonic-like game on the Super Nintendo back then, and that was the system that I had, was the Super NES, during an early portion of that console war, so Bubsy was a fun one. What about you, Corey? What do you think of some silly platforming games? Because you're a Genesis guy.
Yeah.
And I didn't even let you introduce yourself. I feel bad now. You're a Sega guy.
Sega. Yeah.
It was always Sega.
I was started off the Master System and then jumped into the Genesis as soon as it was released. I think Toe Jam and Earl.
Toe Jam and Earl. Yeah, those are classic games. And it's interesting too because that one's not really a platformer. That one was like it was like top view or 3/4 view where you're walking around on this planet and you're just finding items and stuff.
And you
and,
bounced around like clouds too. I mean, it was.
Yeah, weren't you collecting parts of your spaceship or something like that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. It's been so long.
Yeah,
it's
spaceships.
It's like picking up parts for your spaceship and then you're flying off to another place and picking up more parts or something like that. It's like Pikmin before Pikmin. Yeah, but what seeing as how Toe Jam and Earl isn't the same type of game as like Mario or Sonic or even like Bonk or something like that. What kind of what can you really like consider a mascot in gaming? Does it have to be a platformer? Does it have to be a cute character?
I think it just defines the console. Like, if you're going to go out and buy, like, a console just for a game, I think that constitutes as a mascot.
And is it like a... Okay, so it's a game that defines a console. Does it also define, like, a company?
It could, yeah.
Like
Mario
mean-
with the Nintendo and
yeah, I mean
Donkey
that's
Kong
like
with Rare.
the reason why this is so interesting is because I think the 16-bit days, like the late 80s and early to mid 90s, is the best time to talk about gaming mascots because that was when every company tried to make their own mascot, and the whole industry was flooded with different companies making different games. But like something you were even talking about it earlier. You were talking about like a game like Mortal Kombat or like or some other types of games that have like more adult themes. Like what about like Lara Croft or Tomb Raider? That's like a mascot character.
Yeah, that one basically put asses in seats when it came to the PC and the PlayStation 1. I mean, Sega Saturn, not so much, but it was there. But
Hey, it was on the Saturn.
it was a decent port. It was not as good as
It
the
wasn't
PC.
no, it wasn't as good as the PlayStation version. That's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
But since we're talking about 16-bit, like what are I can think of like some like EA tried like hell to make sports stars into mascots. If everyone remembers Shaq Fu for the Genesis, that's a mascot game, right? Is it a good one? No, but it is a mascot game.
Yeah, Joe Montana football.
Joe Montana football.
Was big on the 16-bit for a while there.
That's true. Joe Montana, John Madden, James Pond.
Boom, baby!
Oh, NBA Jam with Dick Vitale, yeah.
Yes.
That was a good one.
That one was fantastic. It's like I barely like sports games, but give me an NBA Jam, I'll play the hell out of it.
I mean, honestly, before like Sonic and Mario would be considered Mario and Donkey Kong. You know, you could kind of consider those as like the first mascot type characters. They were big in the arcades, and then they released them on the consoles. And NEC and Sega, when they came to the game market in the late '80s, like '89, Sega had Alex Kidd from the Master System, and that was supposed to be their mascot. They had him competing constantly with Mario and kind of getting his ass kicked because the games were fun, but they weren't exactly stellar games. And NEC with the TurboGrafx kind of followed almost in the footsteps of like Alex Kidd. Instead of going for like a real inventive game and something that really, really showed off the system's power, they went with Keith Courage and Alpha Zones. The game's actually pretty good, and it shows off a lot of colors on the screen. And if you were playing it for the first time after having just played like Nintendo, I mean, it looks far superior to Nintendo games as far as colors go. However, it still doesn't really offer a whole lot of, I don't know, innovation. You walk around in towns talking to people, saving money, buying weapons, and then you go into these battlefields and you fight bad guys and stuff. Sega had Altered Beast, which I'm not a big fan of. Altered Beast, could you consider that a mascot? I mean, it was the pack-in game. It was kind of what Sega was telling everyone, like, hey, look. I mean, it did better than Keith Courage, mainly because it was an arcade port, and people were excited to see arcade games in the home, especially when they played very similar to the arcades. But, I mean...
I think it was their first big push to show off their 16-bit.
It's true.
You know, that was the big thing, and I think, like you said, the arcade quality. I think they tried to push that, but the quality of the game itself is lacking.
It could be an arcade perfect game, but if it's a port of a not that great of an arcade game, then what are you going to do then? It's like, that's a perfect arcade port. It's just too bad the arcade game's not that good.
Rise from your mediocrity. Boom, boom.
Wise from your grave.
Well, there is a great game for the SNES. I would consider it a mascot. It's Ken Griffey Jr.'s Winning Run. Ken Griffey Jr., definitely a mascot.
But for who? That was a Nintendo game. You're saying that they should have pushed Ken Griffey over Mario and Sonic and Zelda?
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. Come on. Really? You can meet Ken Griffey Jr. You can't really meet Mario.
Oh, I've met Mario in my dreams. But then, if you fast forward
in my bed,
if you fast forward a little bit in the 16-bit wars, Sega obviously kind of put Alex Kidd and Altered Beast off to the side and started working with Sonic. Sonic was a huge deal. Everybody knows the history of Sonic. We don't need to get into it too much. But across the pond, in the TurboGrafx universe, they had Bonk. And the Bonk games on the TurboGrafx were very, very good. I don't know if they were ever truly in that same ballpark with, say, Super Mario World and maybe even Sonic the Hedgehog or Sonic 2. However, Bonk's Revenge comes close, and this is the second one in the series. I think it's got the most innovative levels. It's got the best play control, really excellent graphics. It looks really good, and it competes really strong. The Bonk games, they came out with a trilogy of them on the Turbo. There was Bonk's Adventure, Bonk's Revenge, and then Bonk 3, Bonk's Big Adventure. And while I won't say it was ever to the caliber of like Sonic and Mario, they're really good games, and they're definitely mascot games. It wasn't until I think 1992, so we're getting close to like halfway point of the Turbo's lifespan, where they decided to go in a more edgier 90s character with some attitude, and that was Air Zonk.
So much teen angst.
Yeah, he's got the little teenage angst, where it's basically Bonk who goes into the future and becomes half cyborg, half caveman, and he's Air Zonk, and it's that game is really excellent, and that kind of brings us into that issue we were running into is like, does a game that is a mascot, does it have to be a specific type? If Nintendo has Mario and Sega has Sonic, and those are platformers, those are like, for kids, does that mean every system's mascot or every company's mascot has to play similar to that? Playmates and Interplay, they had, and Shiny Entertainment has Earthworm Jim. It's a platformer. Sure, he has a machine gun, but it is a platformer. Does every game have to play like that? What are some like mascots that aren't, say, cutesy furry creatures that hop and pop on people?
Well, like Madden for sports games.
Okay.
That would be considered a mascot, Madden, and he's just been like drying up that whole well of gaming since then.
Mega Man X.
6 years.
But that's
You say
still
Mega Man?
a platformer.
Mega Man X. He wasn't really as cutesy. He was more kind of badass.
That's true. You could kind of put him with Earthworm Jim then, though.
Yeah, because
Yeah, but it's still a platformer.
Yeah. It still sold a lot of SNESs at the time too.
But does mascots have to be platformers, or can there be like Shaq Fu, like fighting games?
Well, back in the day, a majority of popularity was platformers. This is all off the fumes of Sonic and Mario, and those, of course, were the staple mascots. So even games like Kraken, whatever the hell Soul it is, or the hell the game's called, the Forever Man, that's what it was, I think it was.
Oh, Chacken?
Chacken, that fucking impossible ass game.
It is a really hard game.
My old man syndrome cannot beat that fucking game anymore.
Oh, it's hard. It's really hard. It's a game that I've had difficulty beating any levels in even.
Well, here's a few. There's Chrono from Chrono Cross, or not Cross, Trigger. Sorry.
Chrono Cross.
I'm
about to say, man.
Internet. Sorry. Well, that's a mascot for RPGs, of course. And then there's Ultraman for really shitty fighters, even though that came from a TV show.
Ultraman's a huge franchise, so that would be considered. Yeah, there you go. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, I seen that trailer for a new movie he's coming out with, and holy shit, his feet and hands are huge in that movie trailer.
You know what that means?
He has a small penis?
No, he has to get big gloves and long shoes. What's wrong with you?
You know what? I haven't played Snakes and Ladders like you have, so I wouldn't know.
Snakes and Ladders. Well, okay, so NEC had Bonk on it for pretty much the length of the TurboGrafx system's life. And then something happened, the unthinkable happened, and their mascot appeared first on the Super Famicom, but then on the Super Nintendo in the U.S. Super Bonk came out. So that was actually where that mascot wound up ending up in his video game career on Nintendo consoles. He even had a Game Boy and an NES game too. So Bonk
pretty good.
Bonk, yeah, they are pretty good games. Bonk wound up on all of Nintendo's consoles at the time. It's very strange to see like that happen, like a character mascot coming from one system to the next. It's almost as crazy as Sonic the Hedgehog appearing on a Nintendo system. It's like sacrilege.
Sonic.
Nintendo, we take your milkshakes and mascots, and we drink them up.
You know, if Sonic had come out on a Nintendo system during the 16-bit war, like the world would have ended. Like it would just been like so crazy. But because it happened so much later on, like what was the it was the Saturn, then the Dreamcast, and then like that next war with after the N64 and the GameCube, it was like finally the Nintendo could claim their victory, and Sonic was defeated by Mario because he showed up on a Nintendo system.
I like how kids nowadays don't even know that Sonic was a part of a different, like, total console.
Yeah,
They always thought he was like, oh, he's part of Nintendo.
well, Smash Brothers is all old Nintendo characters, remember? Like Sonic and Snake and
Now there's Cloud.
and Cloud from Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah,
right?
half the kids are like, oh my god, is Samus from F-Zero? It's like, what?
Yes.
Right.
And some kids didn't even realize that Sonic was even a video game because it made such a big hit with the cartoon era.
Right. Yeah, there's the cartoons, there was comic books. I mean, Sonic was everywhere.
I owned
And
some comic books.
I have a few too. They're actually pretty good. Uh-oh.
I really like the cartoon.
Probably not starting.
We're live.
We're live now, I know, but it's doing the same thing it was doing last week, where it was not saying it was on for whatever reason.
Yeah, the PC end actually got a couple of good mascots as well, even though they're technically not. But they are, but they're not, but they're not are.
Are you talking about the Guyana sisters?
Oh, that one counts too, actually. That was actually pretty damn good.
Right? Everybody
But
knows
it was more like Claw and Jazz the Jackrabbit. Which Jazz the Jackrabbit, obviously, everyone on PC, if they even had like a decent computer, was like, man, I remember that floppy disk. Used to put it in the drive all the damn time. Oh yeah. Used to execute that game all the time. That green ass freaking rabbit.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Jazz.
See?
Damn it, it's not working.
Didn't he
I
have
don't
a
know
toy
why
line
it's
too?
not working. That sucks.
Nope. That'd be Bucky O'Hare.
Oh, Bucky O'Hare was awesome.
That show did not last. That show did not last past a fart and a stink.
Oh.
Let me tell you.
Mighty Max, right there.
Oh
The
god, the toy
Adventures
line.
of Mighty Max.
Oh god, that toy line.
Toy line, TV show, video games. Come on.
It was the Call to Polly Pockets unisex system.
So would Battletoads be considered mascots?
Yes.
What about Double Dragon?
Billy and Bimmy, I guess.
Yes.
Jimmy and Jim. Well, I mean, it isn't necessarily that kids would know Billy and Jimmy. They would know the name Double Dragon, though. But Double Dragon had, let's see, a cartoon series, several sequels, a movie.
They had Double Dragon and Battletoads game.
They were together. Yeah, that was a good game too.
Yeah, I'd say the name is more so the mascot than the players of the game itself.
Yeah. So apparently, everybody that's trying to watch our live stream, it is once again not working. It worked. Let's see, 2 weeks ago, but the last 2 episodes of this, we have not gotten the live stream working for whatever reason. It says we're live. It's recording it. I apologize to anybody that's attempting to listen, but it's not able to, and it still says we're at 0 views. So I believe that it's not working for whatever reason, and that really stinks.
Just have 0 views.
Yeah. So maybe we just have 0 views. No, I know there's at least 3 people that are trying to get connected to it. So we're getting messages on Facebook saying it's not working.
Next week, everybody needs to come to Josh's house.
Everybody's just gonna come here. Yeah. If anybody wants to watch it live, you can always just come show up live at our house.
$5 to ticket.
Yeah. So how about you know what? I went through my games on my shelf, and I have grabbed a whole bunch of them. And why don't I kind of show you them, and you tell me what your opinions are of the games. You guys ready?
Yes.
And I'll start with the one that I'm sure is going to get the most crickets. It is Pulse Man on the Sega Genesis.
Oh, I love it.
That
So
was actually a
good.
pretty good one.
Okay. Well, I know Dan's actually not full of shit, so
I like I like that it looks
Is that
like
a
it's
repo cart, by the way?
Of course, it's a reproduction.
That's a paper sleeve.
Oh yeah, 'cause it's like so tiny. Well, some dude was making repros and he was charging $10 each.
Exactly. They run really
On
well
Facebook.
too. Them Brazilians know their shit. Let me tell you.
Yeah, on Facebook. So I'm like, I'll take a few, and so this is one of them. It was Pulse Man. It's really fun. It plays similar to Sonic, but there's really no way to explain the gameplay other than to let someone try playing it because it's really different. You kind of like you're a character that is based on momentum and you're based on electricity. So the faster you move and the more you can connect circuits together, the more powerful you are and the faster you can progress through levels. So it doesn't make much sense until you actually see how the levels are, and there's like walls with like circuit joints here and up there, and you have to, and you could jump up and just jump and then walk over and then jump, or you can do your special attack and connect from circuit to circuit to circuit, and it's just like the electricity gets more and more powerful and you can keep blasting through it, and by the time you're going like and there's all the enemies are dying in front of you.
Reminds me of Sonic Pinball.
It's a little bit like Sonic Spinball or Sonic Pinball. Spinball, pinball. I think there's one of each, so it's confusing. There's a Sonic Pinball game and a Sonic Spinball, but no, but it's a damn good game. It's really fun. Okay, EA Sports with their Electronic Arts, they tried to come up with James Pond, the James Pond series. I think those were big on Amiga for a while.
The
before it
James
came to
Pond
Sega.
2 is really, really good.
The second one is good.
Yeah, that one is Robocod, or whatever the hell it is. I have it sit over there.
Yeah, it is. This one's Operation Starfish. We talked about Bubsy for a little bit. Bubsy's an interesting series because I think it's technically a series of 3 games, the Bubsy games, and they just got worse as they went along. Like the first one is fun-ish, and then the second one is much worse, and then the third one is virtually the worst thing I've ever heard of. And that
We
didn't
don't
even.
need to. It's a 2 game.
It's 2.
Let's
yeah.
not even call 3D. game.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could
It's a
possibly
dev
go
demo.
wrong?
What not to do.
Rocket Knight Adventures.
Pretty good one.
Pretty good one. Well, what do you got to say other than hey, it's pretty good or it's pretty bad? I mean, like, don't you have more to say about it? Come on, man.
Well, back in the day, it was one of those kind of games that made the engine, at least for the Sega Genesis, look really good. Like it made it look so good. It made it look Roman Reigns good. Like it made it look strong.
Make it look strong. Make it look Rocket
Exactly.
Knight strong.
I mean, Super Nintendo version was really good too. But the Sega Genesis, like at the time, it was kind of, you seen all these games looked good. But then Sparkster / Rocket Knight Adventure comes out, and you're like, your brain explodes. You're like, I gotta have that game in my body. You just gotta like insert it somewhere. You have
Well, there was 2 of these. The Rocket Knight Adventures. I believe the first one only came out on the Genesis, and
Was
then the sequel came out
Okay, it was Sparkster
on.
on the SNES. You're right.
Yeah, the Rocket Knight Adventures 2, the Squeakquel, was only on the Super Nintendo, or maybe it was on Super Nintendo and Genesis. It was like there was Sparkster and then something else. The Genesis one was called something different. It played a little different too. And then of course Sonic and the World of Illusion games, or the Land of Illusion games on the Genesis. There was the Mickey Mouse Sega games that they had made on the Genesis that were actually really good. I grabbed this one. It's World of Illusion, starring Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. It's a 2-player one. That's really, really good for the Genesis. And on Super Nintendo, I got a whole bunch of them here. Some of them are mascots that are like, licensed characters from cartoons or advertisements. Like, I know we were just talking about Cool Spot a moment ago, but Cool Spot, that's a soda. That's the little dot on a soda can. And this game's actually really, really fun. I like Cool Spot a lot. I've had a lot of fun playing that one. I think the soundtrack on it is really good. Speaking of really, really good soundtracks, Plock.
Lock.
You know
Trains.
Plock, right, Dan?
Faintly.
Oh, come on.
My
Okay, do
brain
you know-
is not functioning right now with that.
Do you know who Tim Fallon is?
Did he back up? But no.
He's a musician.
Oh, I can't remember right now though.
He did the music from. Okay, he did the music in Silver Surfer for the NES. He did the music in X-Men, Spider-Man, and Arcade's Revenge for the Super Nintendo. He did the music for Super Off-Road.
Oh, right. That was
Like
wasn't it
the
on the
most,
Amiga?
he's one of the most talented like Western musicians in gaming. I think he worked with David Wise on some of the Battletoads games as well. But Plock is like honestly, it's a crowning achievement. The music in it is out of this world. You'll think you're playing a CD game with how good the music is on this. It's really impressive.
Wasn't that on the Amiga though, or something like that?
I don't think so. I think Plock is an exclusive to the Super Nintendo. I think. I could be wrong, but I don't know. Speaking of good music, Earthworm Jim, this is all Tommy Tallarico. Even though he's a piece of shit, he still makes good music.
He's
also
a
did-
fucking cunt, but god damn it, does he make good music.
Well, I can't. I will never say like he's a bad musician. As a human being, he's a fucking moron. But as a musician, he made this. He did Terminator. I think he did the music in a couple other really good games. But I mean, his music's awesome in games. Here's an interesting one. This is Sunsoft, which was a huge company in the 8-bit games.
Oh yeah.
Sunsoft made games like Journey to Silius and Batman and Fester's Quest and Spy Hunter, Super Spy Hunter. I mean, the list goes on and on. Freedom Force. They did a ton of really good NES games. And when they came to the Super Nintendo, they kind of switched up a lot of what they were doing and what was really, really good, which really worked for them on the NES. And they went with more of a cartoony characters. They made a lot of Looney Tune games, and they also came out with Arrow the Acrobat, which is what they used as pretty much their mascot for the rest of their 16-bit life. And I don't know, do you guys have any opinions on this one? Is it a good game? Is it a bad game?
It was all right.
It's average.
But the controls are really strange. I think that's what they were trying to do, is make it so it was a game that was very different from everything else. And I don't know, it's hard to pick up and play now because I forget how it controls. But I don't think I hated it by any means. But it definitely didn't have any of the charm of like games like Earthworm Jim or.
It's one of the games where like when it came out, you'd pick it up and rent it, and then like you'd return it and not rent it again for a while. Like it's just one of those games. It's not bad, but you kind of just go.
I actually bought it on an impulse buy at Funkoland.
But there is a Super Nintendo game that got me to buy the console. It's way better than any of the arcade ports or any of the arcade. It's Space Ace. Super Nintendo version, way better.
Really? Okay, you're being a dick. Okay, so.
Well, you know
He
Space
whipped it right
Ace,
out
right?
and slapped on the table. He's like,
Yes, I know Space Ace. There was also a Dragon's Lair side scroller that was.
you know
really
what's
bad.
funny about that?
Yeah.
Is King's Quest then had Space Quest afterward, but then you look at the arcade side of it, there was Dragon's Lair, and then there was Space Ace.
Yep.
I remember looking at that back in the day on the PC, and I was like, what the fuck? This game looks amazing! This is a cool cartoon! It turned on, I started crying 15 minutes later. It was so damn hard. I was like, what am I doing? Why is this fat guy in a car killing me? You know, I didn't know what the hell was going on at the time.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know what they were thinking when they were like, all right, we're going to make this amazing illustration game that's harder than hell, and we're going to put it on the Super Nintendo. Oh, so we're going to have awesome artwork, you know? No. So we're going to have really hard levels. Yeah. All right, people are going to like this? Probably not. All right, make it. Like, the design is so flawed.
Well, yeah, the game wasn't done very well. I know that Dragon's Lair was a little bit better, but it still wasn't very good. But I think what they tried to do is make the gameplay look similar to the arcade game and the PC games, so that when a person looked at the back of the box art, they'd be like, "Oh, this is impressive." They did the computer game on a Super Nintendo or whatever. So
they needed Bluth's like art more in the game.
Well, definitely. And more Don Bluth than anything is always a good thing.
There should have been what's that movie?
What about Lemmings? Would you consider Lemmings a mascot?
They were at the time. Was it Sunsoft?
Well, it came out on just about everything. It was like computer, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, even the TurboGrafx got a copy, and the Japan they got a PC Engine version. Genesis I think got one, but yeah, I think the console versions were Sunsoft. But I mean,
More
Lemmings
popular.
Lemmings were huge.
Strider 2. So
Strider? That's true.
Which Strider 2?
Strider 2, you know?
Which one? There's different versions of it.
Yeah, that's true.
There's the
Super
arcade one, which is
Nintendo?
like base as hell. Like it makes your brain explode at how awesome it is.
Well, we can
the-
get the big
the-
ones
the-
out of the way. Samus,
official-
Donkey Kong.
That's true. Yeah, I was just about to go with that. Donkey Kong Country would be your entry into the Donkey Kong universe on the 16-bit
And
era.
there's tons of mascots in that franchise, like, alone. You know, there's Diddy, there's Donkey, there's Pixie, there's Twinkie, there's Dopey, there's Doc. You know, all the different types of Kongs in there.
All the Kongs. Yeah, my favorite was definitely Dippy Kong. But hey, how about this? A Sony game on the Super Nintendo called Smart Ball.
Oh,
Is that a bad one, Dan?
it was so because I think I was confused when I originally played it.
Oh, oh my, oh my.
Not to come back out of that closet, go right back into the closet, go right back out of the closet. I was like, what the hell's going on with this? And I realized my controls not plugged in.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was okay. I think Sony just got better at making those types of games the more experience they got, and I think that this is one of their first platformers on the Super Nintendo. They came out with games like Hook, which is a Peter Pan game, which could be considered a mascot, I guess.
That wasn't a bad game either.
The beat 'em
No,
up was excellent.
Hook's really fun, yeah. It's a really good one.
There is Arthur from Super Ghouls and Goblins.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, Arthur's a good one.
So fucking
Godzilla made tons of games.
There were a lot of Godzilla games, that's true.
But I don't think I would call him a mascot of, like, the 16-bit era.
So,
Just
okay,
because it was a prominent movie franchise.
think of like a mascot in the sense of like you're really truly going to sell systems with this. So you put a pack in game with your system, and the Genesis was released with Altered Beast. What was your thoughts on Altered Beast, Corey?
I think it sucked.
You think it sucked, but it was perfect arcade port.
You know, but the game bored you quick. I played it over and over again. That's all I had. But the more I played it, I got annoyed. I was frustrated. The game didn't really take you where I think, where you wanted to go with it playing that. Especially when they hyped all this up. So open the box up first day, one of the first person to have a Genesis, and I play this game and it just keeps going. It keeps going along, and I don't know. I mean, the graphics are good. It was arcade style for the time. I enjoyed that. It
had voices in it too.
Yeah.
That
No,
was
the
That was what I had too at the
believe
time.
it or not, that was impressive at the time.
It went roar.
the graphics, the voices, all that was real impressive. I mean, there was a lot of good things with the game, but as a game as a whole, it was like I couldn't wait to buy something else to replace it.
Yeah, it was like a static scroller. It was just like the screen was constantly moving, and your character kind of like dodge things and go from one level to the next and just punch and kick things.
And it was too short.
Too short?
Yeah.
Would you say it was also a little homoerotic?
Rise from your grave. Boom, boom.
Yeah, a little bit.
Masculine men with little heads running around punching things and kicking things.
I didn't object about it back in the day. I was like,
Of course you
turn
did.
into that big bear, you son of a bitch.
Enter the Dragon. Has a whole new meaning.
Come on, you tiger, scratch me.
Rawr.
Come on, Wolfman, howl at my moon. All right.
Nice. So what would you consider, Ben? What would you be like your favorite mascot from that era, from like the mid to early '90s?
Yeah, my favorite definitely has to be Donkey Kong Country.
Okay.
It's a decently, hard game to play. Graphics were amazing. Um, just, the bosses were so unique and different that you really got into it. Wasn't like, uh, oh, what am I thinking? Well, there was like so many different level types that it didn't get boring to play over and over again.
That's true.
So you could
That's true.
replay it, and you never got boring.
Yep. It was
That's
also done like it was developed by Rare, which instantly makes it like a really it's impressive. Rare is such a good developer. They made RC Pro Am and the Battletoads games and a lot of games on the Super Nintendo even. To work with Nintendo and having those two companies kind of work hand in hand on a system or on a new game like that, that was like the rebirth of that mascot. Because
yeah.
Donkey Kong was what Donkey Kong did, and then it was Donkey Kong Jr. And then what do we get from Donkey Kong other than like a cameo in Mario Kart? It was like there was nothing new in the Donkey Kong world. I love Donkey Kong 3, but nobody played it. I mean, nobody remembers it. Nobody remembers Stanley the Bugman.
Yeah,
Right.
what was it? The Game Boy games are pretty good for Donkey Kong Country too. They weren't called Donkey Kong Country, I don't think, were they?
I think they were called Donkey Kong Land.
Land, that's what it was. It was like yellow cartridges and everything. It looked like a banana.
Yep.
Those were really good. Like I still play those. Like I lay down in my bed once in a while and just played the damn game.
That's crazy. So yeah,
The big game for the Genesis, I know it's weird. Definitely Aladdin. Like Aladdin sold me on the Genesis.
that's a good game. So you think the Aladdin on the Genesis is better than the Aladdin on the Super Nintendo?
Yes. I would say any of the Disney games were better on the Genesis than on the Nintendo.
Like Quackshot and a few others.
Really?
Yeah, like Lion King was better.
I
That's my
mean,
opinion.
I liked the hell is that circus game with Mickey Mouse in it?
Magical Adventure or something.
Well,
like
there
that.
was the Magical Quest starring Mickey Mouse, and I believe there was the Circus Mystery. That was the sequel to that,
Had that one. I had like Minnie Mouse in there or whatever.
and that's a pretty good one.
With the vacuum.
Yeah, that one was strangely good. Like I
Yeah, I
played
like
that
that one.
blindly.
Huh?
That's a game
have-
you wouldn't think is good. Like Mario is Missing. Wait, Mario
Okay, so
Missing
you think
is
that's a
bad.
good game? You think Mario's Missing is a good game?
No, I
Aw.
take that back.
I wanted to argue that. That would have been fun.
I'll pretend like it's an amazing game. There you go.
But that history, Mario's Missing, the history one where you have to go back in time and that.
Mario's Time
Mario
Machine.
teaches typing.
There was Mario's Time Machine and Mario's Missing. Those are both infogrames, edutainment games.
Yeah, I bought that when I was a kid thinking, oh my god, I get to play as Luigi. This is going to be good. 5
Yeah, I
minutes
know.
later going, I want to buy a new game.
I rented Mario's Missing because I thought it was going to be really fun, and it was not.
It was
I
surely
was just very
missed.
confused. I was like, I have to sit and think? I don't want to do that.
Mario's Missing. Well, he's probably in the bedroom with Peach. That's just
No. Let's be politically correct here. Bowser's in the bedroom with Peach.
okay. You're the one that believes that Bowser Jr. is Peach's illegitimate son.
Well, I mean, if there's a bunch of shrooms running around the fucking Magic Kingdom, anything's possible.
That's why she doesn't know, just because she was high on shrooms.
To be fair, the woman seems very ditzy, so I don't think she would even remember a porcupine go up her asshole. I mean, so it's
I
like
just took the biggest poop ever. I don't know
there's
where it
corn
went.
everywhere. Jonathan Davis gave me thumbs up for approval. Yeah.
Nice. What would you guys consider some of your favorite or least favorite? Thanks, man. Your favorite or least favorite failed mascots? Like, it was so obvious that this was a miserable idea, and for whatever reason they went with it, and all the reviews were terrible, and the game never went anywhere.
I was almost going to say Gex out loud, but that would have been completely wrong because there's several sequels to it.
There were 3 games in the Gex series, and I don't really understand why. However, Gex was a 3DO game, and that is 32-bit.
Yeah,
so it does
so
not
it's like-
count.
Man,
I
I'm
would
trying to
go
think.
with, we were talking about this earlier, Dan, before we started the podcast, and that's Awesome Possum Kicks Dr. Machino's Butt. It's a game about recycling.
Yeah, I have that one on the
It's a Genesis game, and you play as a possum running around in a forest cleaning up litter, and you're beating a guy who's basically the villain from Fern Gully, making pollution and stuff. And the game plays sort of similar to Sonic.
By that point, it confuses the fuck out of you because you're like, where the fuck am I going?
Well, there's that, and there's a lot of voice acting. And the Genesis, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, or if you listeners knew this or not. The Genesis was not the best at voices. I think that the voices always sounded really raspy, unless it was someone really, really good and really technical that was developing the voice part of those games. But like most games had really raspy and hard to understand voices. I mean, if you want a good example, look at Street Fighter II Special Champion Edition. Those voices sound like garbage. For whatever reason, the Genesis one sounded terrible, and like the Super Nintendo and the TurboGrafx version sounded great. Awesome Possum is one of those games that you can hardly understand anything he says, and he talks all the time. It's like, imagine like Mario 64 or some of the newer games that have mascots in it where they talk all the time, and you're just like, God, this voice is annoying. I hate how every time he jumps, he goes, whoa, or something like that. But in this game, he talks. Like, Awesome Possum talks all the time, and all you hear is
Wow!
Do you think they gave up on the voice in that aspect because they were pushing graphics so intently back then that they gave up the space and the quality of sound to push out the graphics?
Could be, or they're cutting corners, because like they could have kept it going, but it's like, do we want to get this game out onto the store shelves, or do we want to keep working on the voices part? I mean, that could be either way. Nowadays, if a game was going to come out like that, they could release it, and the voices were all screwed up, and then a week later they could send out a patch.
Yeah.
And you just download the patch and the voices are fixed, or you can download a patch and the gameplay elements, the bugs are all fixed. Back in the day, it had to be a complete game at the day of release. Otherwise, it was screwed up. It's crazy like that.
All right, there's one that I really wish was successful, but it's not. It's Lester, the Unlikely.
What's that game about? I have never owned it personally, but I've only ever seen it at like game conventions.
If I remember right, you're like searching for this girl on this like island, and you start off on the beach, and you can't do anything. Like if an enemy walks up to you, you freak out, and then you run the other way.
Aren't you like a nerdy character with like glasses or something?
You look like just like the angry video game nerd.
Wow.
And all he's afraid of everything. And it takes you like 25 minutes to get through the first level, just because it's so slow. He only runs when he runs away from somebody.
That's really weird.
Like, it was a good concept. It's like, we're going to have a nerd get a girl, but he's going to be afraid of everything. Okay, how are we going to do it? We're just, I don't know. Another one is Dr. Franken.
Ooh, what's that one? I don't know if I remember that one.
It was a platformer that they tried to do like Castlevania style gaming with, but with the really cutesy Frankenstein's monster.
Huh.
And it was on Super Nintendo, and then they did a Game Boy game. I'm not sure which one came first, but then it kind of just died out.
Interesting.
It was like Monsters in My Pocket, but bad, I guess.
Corey, can you think of any terrible mascots from the good old days? Back when you were a troublemaking kid?
Troublemaking.
In junior high? There was a Barney game on the Genesis.
Really?
Yeah. I wanted that to be terrible, and it was, thankfully.
He secretly played it and smiled the whole time. He's like, "What? I can't fall off platforms. This is the best game ever."
Yeah, you can't die. You can't. There's nothing like you can't do anything wrong. Everything's okay. Every character you talk to, you just hug.
We talked about Nintendo games because then we could bring up MC Kids.
Wait, the McDonald's games? That was a Genesis game, wasn't it? Oh, that's right.
NES, and then Global.
Was it
whatever the fuck it
The
was?
Global Gladiators.
I always fall back to Altered Beasts.
Altered Beasts? Okay, that was your biggest disappointment?
Of all Sega Genesis, Altered Beasts is the game that they wiped my ass with and threw it away.
Really?
I just...
As about 8% of the listeners prepare their shotguns. You're like, you heard of a shotgun wedding, motherfucker?
I'll have Corey's cell phone in the description below, so I can text him nasty things.
You can send him some really mean, nasty tweets.
Yeah. All right, Dan, how about you? How about a failed mascot character that was a miserable death?
Boogerman.
Hey, that's not a bad game.
I'm kidding. I can't actually think of any.
Boogerman is a crazy game, though.
It's good, though. I was just seeing everyone and go, hey!
Yeah, Boogerman was interesting. The pick and flick adventure. It's pretty disgusting. It played a little bit like Earthworm Jim, actually. It had some similarities because they were both really silly, like crazy comedy. Hey, what about Bob? Do you guys remember B.O.B., that EA game?
Yeah, that one was good at first, and then the more you got into the game, the more you just didn't want to play it anymore. It's kind of like you get halfway there, whoa, you're living on a prayer, then you stop. And that's it. That's what happens to me all the time. I was just like all into it at first. This is like Mega Man and Samus and shit. Let's do it. And then I realized every single map in that game is just there to.
It's just that is true. Like I remember playing it and being like, "This is really fun," and then like I think 2 stages in, you start to see the same shit over and over again, and you're just like, "Oh, is this really what the whole game is?" And then you look online and you watch some playthroughs, and it's like, yeah, there's like 19 levels of the same thing over and over again, and it's not bad, but it certainly isn't anything spectacular. It was pegged as like this very original comical character game or whatever, and it's fun to see like the different ways he dies and stuff, but otherwise there isn't a whole lot to it.
There is a mascot that wasn't supposed to be a mascot or sorts. It was the Moogles from Final Fantasy. Like I think that and the Chocobos became the mascots of that whole franchise.
That's true. That's true.
Because they're in every single, world, starting, from the 16-bit era. And they just show up, and they're usually just, on artwork for the first few games. And everyone kind of, can see a Moogle and be like, oh, Final Fantasy. And so that's my, unlikely that it became a mascot of a franchise pick.
Cool.
I don't know. I'm on shrooms. I'm pooping out Bowser Jr. I'm doing it.
You're pooping out Bowser Jr.?
I'm doing it.
All right, so for the last segment of our show today, I want to talk about, mascots that you guys would consider to be, the biggest or the most forefront characters of a console. So if I said to you, an easy one, Super Nintendo, you guys would be like Mario.
Lester the Unlikely.
Lester the Unlikely. Yes, that'd be bad.
Mario.
But you'd say Mario or whatever. And if you have say a mascot that's different, I'd almost like to hear some explanation as to why. So Corey, I'll say Sega Genesis.
Sonic the Hedgehog is what would stick out to me as for that console.
Absolutely.
That's the one that I would say that would conform to that.
I would say once Sonic 2 hit, it was lights out. It was like there was nothing else out there that was as cool as Sonic 2 was for a long, long time. Sonic 2 was such a wonderful game. Like the first one came out and it was like, okay, that's a huge deal. Like Sonic 1 was a big deal, but it was the very first game in the whole series. We didn't know if it was going to become this franchise. We didn't know if it was going to become anything bigger than that. It was just a really, really popular game. What would Sega do? Would they just try to keep pushing Alex Kidd? Would they try to go with like something like Phantasy Star or something like that as their like main game system, I should say, or what? But Sonic 2 is huge. Dan, what would you say was the biggest mascot on the Sega Genesis?
Easily Sonic. I mean, there's like so many other games out there that were good or decent mascots, but not quite as caliber as Sonic, at least memorable-wise.
Benjamin?
Sonic, Sonic was good, and then I played Sonic and Knuckles, and I fell in love with Knuckles.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Knuckles is my favorite character of the franchise alone. Because he was that, angsty, teenager type guy. Who's just like, I don't need teamwork. I can do it all by myself. Woo.
I drink beer with the tap off. Let's do it.
But
all right.
I really like Sonic, and that's basically what you can say about Sega.
It's true.
That was a front runner.
I would agree. I think there's some things that could be said for like Toe Jam and Earl. There was 2 games in that series, but I don't think it was the biggest, mascot on the system. Sonic is what sold the system. And Ben, you had mentioned before we started this podcast, you were trying to argue for something about Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
I think that being a mascot for the system, a name like Mortal Kombat isn't necessarily a mascot. It's more of like it's like AAA killer title. Like it's like this title with all these characters in it. Street Fighter is not, a mascot either. It's like this game. But, something could be said about when Sega really started to pull ahead in that 16-bit war for the Genesis with Mortal Kombat. Because Mortal Kombat, when that came out on the Genesis with a simple little code in it, in the game, you could have all the fatalities, all the blood, and it played just as good or better than the Super Nintendo version, and the Super Nintendo version had no blood, no fatalities, at least not real fatalities, to go along with it, and that was what really pushed it over. It was like you had Sonic 2, you had the real Mortal Kombat, you had everything going for it, and the Genesis started to pull ahead when Nintendo was trying to censor everything. And, man, it's just, you could make a case for Mortal Kombat, the gory version of it, on the Genesis, saying this was like the key game that came out on it. Not necessarily a mascot, but it was like the biggest game at the time for the Genesis.
A very trendy franchise.
Right? How about the Super Nintendo? Who would you think is your mascot for the Super Nintendo?
I still think Mario Brothers kind of fell right into play with the Super Nintendo.
It's true. It's hard to say anything else. What about you, Ben?
Donkey Kong Country.
You were more of a Donkey. See, now that's like, it's very true if you were following the Super Nintendo from like 93 to like 96. Because in that time span, like we were talking about how a company can resurrect a franchise or resurrect a mascot, it was Donkey Kong Country. Because you got Donkey Kong Country 1, 2, and 3. And in the Mario universe, while we got games like Mario Kart and Mario Paint and even Mario RPG, they only really got one Mario game on the Super Nintendo. And I know a lot of people be freaking out like, what? Because there's Super Mario World and there's Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. I will argue forever with people that Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, is a Yoshi game.
Yeah.
It plays like Yoshi's Story. There's a Yoshi's New Adventure or New Island on the DS. Like those are Yoshi-style games. You don't even play technically as Mario in those. There's only one new Mario game on the Super Nintendo, and that was Super Mario World.
And I mean,
so like Donkey Kong Country is a great argument for that.
Nintendo kept pushing off-brand Mario games at this point. Like Mario's Missing, all that. So people like
Mario Hotel.
For me, I'm just like, I don't really want to play Mario games because I don't know if they're going to be good or not. So I would have, Super Mario World and then I would have all 3 Donkey Kong Country games. And
That's
all
true.
3 of them are playable. You know, I could sit down and play for hours and enjoy any of them.
Well, that Super Mario Kart is also kind
Yeah,
of
Mario Kart has Donkey Kong Jr. in it too.
It's true. Super Mario Kart on the Super Nintendo is amazing. It's so good. Dan, what about you? The biggest mascot on the Super Nintendo system?
It would be Link from Legend of Zelda 3.
Why would that be?
Well, at the time, you looked at Super Mario World and it sold the console at launch, but then after a little while longer, you were kind of like, all right, I'm done with Mario World. What's going on here? What's going down? And then Legend of Zelda comes out, and everyone's brains just fucking explode, and they go, oh my God, Zelda, such a cool character, and everyone's like, dude, that's fucking Link. But then that argument goes into the air, and everyone makes fun of it or whatever. But anyway, so basically Link, right? And it's just because the Link alone, he's a side protagonist. So I think he goes ah, oh, ah, shit like that. That's all I think he says. But at the same time, he's so recognizable, and he sold a shitload of the consoles that you look at the Legend of Zelda 3, and it's just the most.
Sorry, I've got this stupid cough. I cannot fight it out.
It's making me laugh too. It's just like
Dan's talking, and it's just what were you saying? Sorry, continue.
yeah, it's like. Yeah, Legend of Zelda 3, because the graphics, the sound, and everything else, gameplay was fantastic. He's like, bullshit!
No. Zelda is awesome, and Zelda's amazing. I just don't know. I mean, if you're going to talk about Link being a mascot for the Super Nintendo, then you might want to start talking about, like, I don't know, you got Cecil from Final Fantasy II. I mean, you've got... there's just so many games with so many different characters in it that I could pick out.
You got Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat.
That's true. I mean, I think Zelda and the Link series are for sure a very huge mascot in the Nintendo universe. But during the 16-bit era, there was one game, and honestly, I think it was a huge game, and it sold extremely well, and it's probably one of the top 10 best games of all time for sure, but I don't think Nintendo was using that character and that universe as a mascot until the next generation.
Well, then you can't really say Mario's a mascot either, because it only, technically, for you, only has one game.
Well, I think it more or less represented itself, though, not represented the console, or Mario had...
Well, at the same time, if you went to a Sears back in the day and you saw these big old bulletins or these billboards or these little like cardboard, advertisements, you always see like a little Super Nintendo display underneath it, or at least all the games and all that stuff in that glass case. And above it, you'd see the Legend of Zelda, that big old fucking cardboard thing, and you'd see the sword and the shield, and you'd see that icon, the iconic feature. So it was like they advertised the shit out of it because they knew it was obviously popular. But at the same time, people recognized the character very easily. So it was a very distinguished game for that system, so it sold it just like a mascot.
Was Link from the Adventures of Zelda a mascot during the 16-bit era? Let us know in the comments below.
The Adventures of Link.
Because then you can say Samus is a mascot
the Adventures
from
of Zelda.
Super
No, I said the Legend of Zelda. I'm sorry, Legend of Zelda. Link from the Legend of Zelda. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Link to the Past.
I thought we were talking about the NES version game. I was like, this guy's trolling me. But no.
I can't think straight.
But then you have to say Samus, from Super Metroid.
Yeah, she was kind of. It's like, again, it wasn't that they were necessarily on the front of the box. No, I mean that. But at the same time, Super Metroid and Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past were both, two games that they had two characters that were iconic and they were mascots of the console they were spread across. And then obviously they got much more popular in the future. But I guess
I'm not
it's
arguing.
your opinion.
It's your opinion, man. I got my own opinion, man. So, okay, I'm not arguing the fact that Link is not a mascot, because he definitely is. I'm not arguing the fact that Samus is not a mascot, because she definitely is. However, they're not bigger than Mario. Mario, while I will say, only had one specific new adventure, like in a very a traditional Mario-style game on the system, because there was only Mario World. That was it. it still had Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. It still had Super Mario RPG. It still had Mario Paint. It still had Super Mario Kart. Like, Mario was a mascot because it was used in all these different types of games. There was only one Link appearance on the Super Nintendo. There's only one Samus appearance on the Super Nintendo. And Donkey Kong Country, that is a good argument because there was a whole series, like a trilogy of games that were put on the system right towards the end.
Your Donkey Kong Country, though, I'd say, even though Nintendo had picked it up, I think people still associate that came over the Atari generation, will associate Donkey Kong back.
That's true.
Atari not associate with the Nintendo end of it.
Well,
Yeah, I think of like
that Donkey Kong is a different Donkey Kong because Donkey Kong in Country is actually the son of Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr. is a son of Donkey Kong from the original Donkey Kong.
Yeah, but who
game.
knows that? You know that. You know that, but not everybody.
But I still agree, Mario. I didn't. At the time when Genesis came out, I was anti-Nintendo. I was a very loyal Sega owner, and I hated everything to do with Nintendo.
I still love how you're like, I love Genesis, even though the game that came with it was a piece of shit. I love Genesis.
I do. That game there is, like I said, I'll give it to you. You can have it.
Nice.
What about you, Josh?
Oh, for Super Nintendo? Yeah. Mascot, the biggest mascot, it's still Mario, but I can see the argument for Donkey Kong Country, or Donkey Kong, and like the whole country universe, because it was interesting. Because like from 90, like 93, it was all Mario. Like Nintendo was just like, let's put out another Mario game. We got Super Mario World, and then they did Super Mario All Stars, then they did Super Mario Kart, and then they did Mario Paint, and it was like, this is crazy. Every year we're getting a new Mario game. Well, certainly they aren't new in Mario Adventures, and they're not a new Mario Brothers game or anything like that, but they put out a ton of Mario-type games with the word Mario in them. But Donkey Kong, from like 94 to the end of the Super Nintendo's lifespan, every year you got a new Donkey Kong Country game. So it was like the tale of two different eras within one system. It was really crazy.
Less utilized mascot that Nintendo should have done with was Star Fox, Fox McCloud.
That was pretty late in the system's lifespan, though. I mean, honestly, that was like 93, late 93 when Star Fox did come out. I agree. Fox McCloud and the Star Fox universe.
They could have done so much. And, in future consoles, they didn't really do anything with them, even though everyone loved them.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've gotten a new Star Fox game. I know that in 2016 we're getting a new one, and it's supposed to be really fun, so hopefully we get a new one and it's really good.
That's what they said about Star Fox Adventures.
Was that a bad game, though?
I didn't enjoy it.
It certainly wasn't a Star Fox game, but I mean it was supposed to be Dinosaur Planet initially, and then it was it just got thrown into the Star Fox universe. It wasn't a horrible game. Star Fox Assault was a little bit better. But yeah, I agree. I think, in my opinion, the only great Star Fox game was the first one. And then the unreleased.
I like 64.
I'm not a fan of the 64 one. I don't know why. I can't get into it. I have it, and I've tried it a few times. I've never played through it. I've gotten maybe 3 or 4 stages in, and I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't know. The Super Nintendo.
I just love the options of doing certain things to get to a different boss or get to the end quicker, because they utilize that more in 64.
All right, so we got one more 16-bit system to come out, the best one of the three, the TurboGrafx 16. Dan, what is the biggest mascot for the TurboGrafx?
Bonk.
Just like that, bonk.
Yep. Boom. Drops mic, walks off stage.
You son of a bitch. Okay, Ben, how about you?
I'm not that familiar with the console, but yeah, Bonk, just because it's everywhere now. Well, then.
It's true. There were...
because it did jump consoles, too.
They kind of did what... yeah, it's true. It was on the Super Nintendo and the Nintendo and the Game Boy. They did try to kind of make it more edgier, like halfway through the lifespan when they switched from Bonk to Air Zonk. Airzonk was on all of the ads from like 92 to 94, and Bonk was on all the ads from like 90 to 92. So a lot of people think it's kind of in the same series, though, so it was just a new game with a new attitude, new edginess to it or whatever.
Don't ask me, I know nothing about it.
All right, fine, I won't ask you. All right, so that's interesting. So so regardless.
Well, I'm sorry, but there is this game that I saw at EverCon people were playing on the TurboGrafx.
Sorry.
It was like with two random dudes in suits.
Oh, you're talking about Kato and Ken-chan. Kato-chan and Ken-chan. Kato and Ken, or as in the U.S., it was known as JJ and Jeff.
Yeah, that game really I want to play that game on the TurboGrafx.
It's actually incredibly awesome. It plays very similar to like Adventure Island. It's a platformer. You run around. You can get killed in one hit, but there's some power-ups that you can get, so that's not quite so difficult. But it's filled with toilet humor. There's attacks that you have. There's a kick attack, and then there's a fart attack, and then you also have your partner. So, like, you're an agency, right? You have two characters. You have JJ and Jeff, or Kato and Ken, as it was known in Japan. And whichever one you select is your character, and then the other guy is mad that you got the job because you're like a detective agency, so he's constantly trying to foil you. So while you're going through levels, he'll come in and either be in the background or be in the foreground and try to screw something up for you. So you gotta either kick him or fart on him or knock him off the stage or whatever. You can defeat enemies by jumping on their heads, kicking them, or farting on them. And he is constantly doing the most messed up things. Like he'll be in a garbage can and he'll be peeking his head out and throwing garbage at you. You got to jump on him or kick him or something like that. And then there'll be other parts where he's in the level and he's in the background taking a leak.
Reminds me of Beavis and Butthead.
It's a little bit like that. It's kind of crazy. It was.
Yeah, that's a game
awesome.
that would sell the system for me.
I agree.
Because it looks so fun.
However, in the U.S. version, they censored it like crazy. When they brought it out in the U.S., for whatever reason, they took out all the toilet humor and put in really silly, stupid, comical things. They basically turned it from like PG-13 to G, because there's nothing nasty about it anymore. All the toilet
Y7.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, so like instead of farting, you have like a spray can and you spray like psh, psh. They didn't ruin it by any means because it still plays fun, but it's a whole different experience if you get to play the Japanese version. That's a good mention there that you brought that up. If they had made sequels to that, who knows? There was sort of an unofficial one that came out later on, but that's nerdy shit that no one cares about. So
except for everyone that's nerdy.
Except for everyone that's nerdy and that enjoys the TurboGrafx. But awesome. I thought this was fun. I thought we had a good time talking about mascots. Any last words from anybody before we stick this pig into the oven and make a meal?
The Alter Beast still sucks.
Yeah,
You
fuck
got a
Alter
vendetta
Beast.
against Alter Beast.
I hated that game.
We're going to have a marathon of that and watch you beat it from beginning to end.
I played Alter Beast for like 3 hours straight just to get like the
You did?
Xbox achievements for it.
Oh, sure.
And then afterwards, I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. You can only be turned into a werewolf and a dragon so much until you want to kill yourself.
Danny
I'm sorry.
Van Dam. Last words from you, Dan.
I wanna get naked, sit in a tub, light up some candles, and have a portable version of a handheld console, and then play Altered Beast. Then think of all your hateful words and be like, do 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 do. No, the game isn't that good.
I hope a toaster falls in that tub.
Nice.
I mean, it's passable, but it just isn't my cup of tea. Like I completed it so many times as a kid, I just kind of go, ugh, I don't want to look at that shit no more.
Yeah.
But I can see where it was, a console good thing, but then it's sort of like it's an optional good thing. So keep that thing the fuck over there, please.
Yeah. They did come out with an Altered Beast for the Master System too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be pretty okay. Like, I don't know. I mean, as far as arcade ports go, it's supposed to be all right. It's kind of weird. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so there's one for the Master System too. But all right. Thank you guys for being a part of the show. Thanks for talking Mascots and Marios and Mega Mans and Sonics and Pulse Mans and Bubsies with us today. It was fun. Got a little silly.
Snatcher.
Snatcher? Stop
No.
that. Stop it. Don't stop it.
Just stop it.
Just stop it. Stop it. Anyway, thank you guys for listening. If you have listened, if you sat through this, please let us know in the comments below what you thought about this episode, if you liked it or disliked it. Let us know what kind of episodes you'd like us to do in the future. For Corey Feldman and Ben Stiller and Dan
Whoa!
DeVito.
Whoa!
Danny DeVito.
No.
All 4'9" of Danny DeVito over there. My name is Joshua
2'9",
Yeager.
yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter. Check me out at _Joshua Turbo. Don't forget the underscore, as it is the most important underscore in all of the internet. For the Game Huggers, it's been another Game Hump. We had fun. Check us out next time. See you later, guys.